Before he left the hospital for the last time, he said to the specialist, "What does the future hold?" And the specialist said, "Let's say if you come in with pneumonia, there will be no heroics." And that was a very straight, very honest answer, and was very good for John, because he knew that he didn't really feel he needed to go back to hospital to try and get better.
Our palliative care nurse would visit regularly. At the start it was once a fortnight, and she very gently and very strategically introduced ideas to Ray about what he might need to think about in the future.
She started talking about and questioning, for example, where Annette would like to be when she died. And to most people that would be quite confronting, but to someone who knows they're going to die, it's actually a very relevant question that you need to think about, and you need to be, it's something that needs to be handled as part of the experience.
John hadn't made an advanced care plan, but I've had mine well and truly made. But we talked at length about what he wanted, and it was really not only what he wanted; it was what I wanted too. It was not just a single decision.
We did plan to try and get her home, but it just wasn't practical with the amount of drugs that she was needing towards the end to relieve the pain management issues that she had.
He chose the hospice that he wanted to go to, but he wasn't an active participant when it came to the time of making that decision. And that's when that trust in me became really, really vital.
It was getting pretty close. I think we were about 3 or 4 days away. And Mitzi pulls me aside and we sit down, and Mitzi says, "Annette's worried that you're not ready for the fact that she's about to depart." And I said to Mitzi, "Well, that's funny you should say that, because I thought Annette wasn't ready for the fact that she was about to depart." So it was actually, we had a bit of a giggle and a bit of a tear, but at the end of the day we were both realistic, and it's just that we weren't on the same page.
The nurses gave us an indication that there might not be a lot of time left, but equally they weren't able to guarantee what Dad would be like once we put him on to the morphine and the sedation type medication. So they said, ask him if he wants to see anyone, if he wants to do anything, before the drugs really kick in.
I was trying to find out how long I was going to have Ray for, and it's something that may not be able to be answered. I came to understand that everybody's different, that death is a really elusive thing in terms of how it's going to happen, how long it's going to take, what form it's going to take. But that's not easy for someone who likes to have structure around her.
I'm really grateful for the advice she gave, because your thinking's a bit chaotic when this is all going on. And she said to me, now, if he dies overnight, you don't have to get a locum. If you'd like to wait for your own GP, that's fine. You can be comfortable with that.
She was resting comfortably, and we thought we'd go home, have a quick shower, and come back. And of course that's when she decided to depart the mortal coil. So, ratbag that she is.
He died at about 5, and they didn't come to get him until about midnight. So we had 7 hours with him, and it was like he was sleeping and, not in pain anymore and at peace, and he was surrounded by everybody that loved him.
They say it is amazing how many times that someone who's been sick for so long chooses the moment, or the moment occurs when that person's loved one has left the room or gone to the shop or gone to get a coffee. It's uncanny, they say, that they wait until they're alone.
He collapsed suddenly, And fortunately, one of my sons was here. The ambulance officers said to me, do you want him to go to hospital? And he roused enough to say no. And that was really helpful because although we'd made that decision, he actually voiced it. I just sat here, I talked to him, I did a bit of ironing, I chatted to him, I kept going and sitting beside him, and then I realised that his breathing had changed. And it was just so peaceful, so quiet. It was quite beautiful, really. And I just think that was the most special thing, just the two of us here. It was wonderful.
What you need to understand is that whatever happens, you have to accept it's happened, and you can't control it. So therefore, if you weren't there, you weren't there. But the person who died knows you love them, so it doesn't really matter.